Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, I just got back from a trip to England with my father. We went to London and York, and also we went on several other day trips. So, this is going to be the first of my travel vlogs chronicling our experience. I didn't film any intros while I was gone, so I'm here back at my house filming the intro now. I'm going to keep this intro short and sweet and just get to the actual clips from my vacation. But one thing I will say is I am formatting this vlog a little differently from my previous travel vlogs. In my previous travel vlogs, I usually just had the clips and then I would add some music in the background. But this time I kind of felt like I wanted to provide an explanation for the things that I did on the trip. So these clips will actually be narrated by me with some anecdotes from our experience. Do let me know in the comment section if you like this format for a travel vlog or if you'd prefer I go back to the old way where it's just clips set to music. Do let me know which you like better. So let's just get right to the vlog. In this video, you will see the things that we did in London at the beginning and end of our trip, and you will also see the things we did in the city of York. I will have more vlogs coming out in the coming weeks, chronicling what we did in Durham, Castle Howard, Walworth, and Harrogate, so stay tuned for those. So our first stop in London was Manchester Square to visit the Wallace Collection. This museum also has a tea room, and I discovered it in an article about best affordable afternoon teas in London. We had a really nice time, and the tea was enjoyable. We also ordered some rosé champagne after a long travel day to go with our tea. And we had a really nice meal, some finger sandwiches, scones, little desserts. It was very enjoyable, so I would recommend it. Then we went into the Wallace Collection itself to explore the museum, which is free, so I would recommend going if you're looking for a free activity in London. The house where the museum now is was originally owned by the Marquises of Hertford and then sold to a baronet named Sir Richard Wallace. All of the art and antiquities on display in the museum were owned by the Marquises and Sir Richard Wallace and collected over many, many years. It's a very interesting museum and, like I said, totally free. So if you're looking for something to do, I think it would be a great place to check out. They have a lot of art antiques and even some old armor and swords. So I think it's worth checking out if you're in need of something for your London itinerary. After leaving the museum, we took a walk out onto Manchester Square and moseyed on back over to our hotel. We took a long walk through Mayfair, Berkeley Square, around Buckingham Palace, and then towards more of the touristy areas around Big Ben and Westminster Abbey. I am writing a historical mystery set in Mayfair, London, so it was research for me, looking at all the Georgian townhouses and things like that. The next morning, after a quick breakfast, we went to the Churchill War Rooms. This is a place my dad really wanted to go to because he's very interested in Winston Churchill. We had talked about going there the last time we went to London together, but didn't make it, so we went on this trip. This museum is actually located underground, underneath Whitehall. The complex was created during World War II so that Churchill, his wife, and his employees could stay there in hopes of being protected from potential German air raids. And the museum was really interesting. I'm not that interested in Churchill, and I still had a really good time. I thought it was a cool museum, and I learned a lot from our time there. So it's something that I would recommend if you're interested in learning more about this period in history.
Then we took a walk through St. James Park. They had these absolutely beautiful tulips. They were so lovely, so many different colors, absolutely gorgeous. Our next activity was something I chose since my dad got to pick the morning activity, and I really wanted to go to Hatchards Bookshop. This bookshop has been open since the late 1700s, and some famous people known to have visited this bookshop include Lord Byron, the Duke of Wellington, and Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde actually used to sit at a table on the ground floor and sign his books, so that table is to this day nicknamed Oscar's Table. The bookshop is, I think, 5 floors. It is huge and it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. One of my favorite bookshops I've ever been to. I probably could have bought so many books here. I probably could have left with 10 books, but I had to practice self restraint and also be realistic about what could fit in my suitcase. It was an amazing bookshop with pretty much every genre of literature you could imagine. I loved every minute of it. Heaven is, in fact, a place on earth, and it is called Hatchards. So, book lovers, definitely recommend checking this place out if you find yourself in London. I just loved it. I don't know what else to say other than it was one of the best bookshops I've personally ever visited. Heavenly, for real. Afterwards, we walked back towards our hotel room to have a little bit of a rest before dinner. For dinner, we went to St. James and went to a restaurant called Chutney Mary for some upscale Indian food. I had this blueberry Cosmo in the tallest glass I've ever seen, then a shrimp appetizer, which was really, really good. And for our entrees, I ordered the butter chicken, and my dad had a lamb shank. We got naan too, of course. And for dessert, we had this rhubarb tart. Everything was delicious. Afterwards, we decided to get a drink at the Ritz, just so we could say that we did. This cocktail I had gold leaf in it, because why not? Just put gold leaf in your drink, when you're at the Ritz. That's the kind of thing you do. I also went to their ladies' room just because I figured it would probably be very fancy, and it was. It had a sitting room, very pink, Rococo vibes. It probably seems weird that I was this excited to go to a ladies' room, but it was one of the largest and fanciest ladies' rooms I've ever seen.
So then we took a train from King's Cross Station to get to York to continue our adventure. While we were at King's Cross, I actually realized when I was trying to get a clip of platform 9 3/4 in Harry Potter, supposedly the Hogwarts Express leaves from King's Cross Station. So, because those books are so popular at King's Cross, they have set up a adorable little photo op between platforms 9 and 10. It was really, really cute. There were people all lining up to get their photos taken, and it was just a really cute setup. But when I was trying to get a video of that, I noticed that my iPhone's outward facing camera was not working. Whenever I tried to take a photo or a video, it was very, very wonky, shaky, going in and out of focus. Luckily, my father had his work iPhone, so I had to film the rest of the trip on his work iPhone because for whatever reason, my phone, the outward facing camera is not working. The selfie camera that I'm using right now to film is totally fine, but the outward one just gave out in the middle of my trip. So luckily he had his work iPhone.
In New York, we stayed at the Grand, one of the nicest hotels I've ever been to. Super friendly staff and great location. On our first day, we took a walk to get ourselves oriented a little bit, see the city. We were right by the river here, and it was very nice. While we were walking, I spotted some white roses for the House of York located on the bridge. Yes, I know the Wars of the Roses have been over for many centuries, but let it just be known that I am a Yorkist, okay? Why I have declared a side in a civil war that's been ended for many years, I don't know, but I have. We also took a tour of the Treasurer's House. This house is located very close to York Minster. It also has this really adorable little garden next to it, which we just walked around to admire the garden and the architecture. This house was originally used by the treasurers to York Minster, though it stopped using that function after the English Reformation when Henry VIII just decided he was gonna create his own religion because he wanted a divorce. The house is currently meant to look as it looked when this man named Frank Green lived there in the late 1800s and early 1900s. He was a very wealthy industrialist and he lived there with his many servants. There is a exhibit in the museum talking about the different servants that he had working for him while he lived there. The house also was visited by the future King Edward the Seventh before he became the king. He was visiting York with his wife, Alexandra of Denmark, and their daughter, Princess Victoria, and they stayed at the treasurer's house while they were in York. Frank Green did a lot of work on this house. He created this medieval style hall by taking out an upper level floor and creating this pseudo medieval style. He also did a lot of major refurbishments before the royals were coming to stay with him, because obviously, if the royals are coming to stay at your house, you want to impress them. The house also supposedly has a ghost. I don't know if that's actually true or not. Guess it depends on if you believe in ghosts or not, but I guess every self respecting historic house has to have a good ghost story, right? Afterwards, we took a little walk around York. I found another bookstore because, of course, I did. Just going to bookstores and looking at books is one of my hobbies. I don't have to explain myself to you. I love bookstores. There's also a cat store in York, and that's another thing that I love. Loving cats is just a huge part of my personality. So I took a look there and I did end up getting this Pride and Prejudice cat card for myself because I love Pride and Prejudice and I love cats. Two of my favorite things. The next day, we had some breakfast, some nice cappuccinos, and I got the avocado toast with poached eggs on top. We then went to York Minster and took a tour. Our guide, Robert, was an exceptional tour guide, so knowledgeable and engaging. York Minster was absolutely fantastic. Both my father and I consider it one of our favorite things we saw on the entire trip, so I definitely recommend going to see it if you ever have the opportunity. York Minster is not only one of the largest cathedrals in England, but also in Northern Europe. It was truly spectacular. A church of some kind has been on this site since the Norman times, though the church the Normans built was knocked down and rebuilt several fires have taken place at York Minster, so parts of it are recreations meant to look like they did when the church was originally built. Here's a funny story from the tour. So, the ceiling in the nave was destroyed in a fire, and so in the 1800s, the Victorians were going to reconstruct the ceiling to make it look like it did before it burnt down. However, on the ceiling, there was an image of the Virgin Mary breastfeeding the baby Jesus. And the Victorians said, heck no, a woman breastfeeding her child is just too scandalous, you know? We can't show that in our church. So if you look at it now, the image depicts the Virgin Mary as bottle feeding the baby Jesus. That to me is just hilarious. Oh my God, only the Victorians would see that and be like, we can't have people know that the Virgin Mary had breasts. What's next? She's gonna show her ankles? Ugh. That was just such a hilarious story to me. But in all seriousness, the church was absolutely beautiful. Beautiful ceilings, beautiful stained glass, and just so historic and spectacular to see in person. I loved it. Definitely go there if you ever get the opportunity. Next, we went to Clifford's Tower. Clifford's Tower is all that remains of the former York Castle, which was built by William the Conqueror when he was conquering the Viking settlement at what is now modern day York. I said hi to these birds, and then we went up to the tower. Really great views from there. A castle was first built on this site in the year 1068, shortly after the Norman conquest of England. But like I said, this single tower is all that remains of it today. You can go to the top and get some pretty amazing panoramic views of the city. Luckily, it was also a lovely sunny day that day. So it was really nice to get up there and just enjoy ourselves and take a look around to see everything there is to see from that vantage point. We then went over to the York Castle Museum, which, contradictory to its name, really has nothing to do with the castle. That's just what it's called since it's located right next to the former York Castle. The museum is actually located in what used to be the jail in York. The infamous highwayman Dick Turpin was imprisoned there before he was executed. And surprisingly, even though he was a famous highwayman, he was actually executed for stealing a horse. Of all things, that's the thing that put his crime spree to an end. The museum was honestly probably our least favorite thing that we did in our trip. I think honestly you could probably skip it. They did have some historic outfits like you see here, which were interesting to me. And they also have a reconstruction of a Victorian era street, which was kind of interesting. I don't have any footage of that because it was very, very dark. And though I took some clips, none of them came out. The lighting was just terrible, so I didn't include that in the vlog. They did say that all of the storefronts in their pseudo Victorian street actually came from Victorian times. After that, we took a walk along the city walls to enjoy the day and head back towards our hotel. That's pretty much everything we did in York. We went on some day trips, which I will show in other vlogs. We had breakfast at this place called the Perky Peacock, which is located in a medieval toll booth, which was pretty cool. And we also went to a place called Spring Espresso, where I had some of the most delicious French toast. So if you're in York, I recommend the French toast there. We then went back to England the day before our flight out of Heathrow, and what we did that day was take a tour of the Globe Theatre. I am a Shakespeare fan, so this was something I really wanted to see. The theater itself is actually a reconstruction of the original Globe, and it's not located in the same place that Shakespeare's Globe actually was located, because the place where his globe was now has a bridge. And so obviously when they were building a reconstruction of the globe, they had to move it to a different place because they couldn't build it atop the new bridge. But it is meant to be a pretty faithful reconstruction of what Shakespeare's globe actually would have looked like, thatched roof included. It was a pretty fun tour and I enjoyed it. Then that night, we just went out to a pub to have a traditional roast dinner to cap off our trip. It was really good.
All right, everyone. So those are all the things my father and I did in London and York. Like I said, I will have more vlogs about our trip coming soon. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know, did you like the narration or would you prefer to go back to the music? I would like to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me. I post new videos every Wednesday and Sunday. My social media links are down below if you want to follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, or be my friend on Goodreads. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you next time.